I remember going over, convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time.
Hello friend, you're most welcome on my YouTube channel. Today in this video I will share with you the Martin Hart death. The Martin Hart is the death, the Ukraine-American graduate, the found dead in Kiev. All of you want to know next comes up updated video, please like, share, subscribe, press the bell icon for more next comes up updated video. Today update from the death of which news, the big famous celebrity is the died with the Martin Hart who is died. All people watch this video, again humble request to if you want to more next comes up updated video, please like, share, subscribe and follow, and please.
Well, I would think that if they were honest about it, they'd start a major investigation into the Biden. It's a very simple answer.
First time, the next Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris. Protect and defend
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States.
Do you think it's equal and fair that a political opponent is going to be given jail time, but a presidential son, and if you compare this to other individuals in America that have these same accusations against them, same crimes that they have been guilty of, that they were proposed to have 10 years another time period? I think that's the difference in justice.
¿Qué tal? Bueno, acusación formal de corrupción por parte del Comité de Supervisión de los Estados Unidos, que le ha pedido explicaciones al FBI y el FBI ha de darlas antes de que acabe el 10 de mayo, o sea, hoy. Dice que se ha transferido dinero desde Rumanía mientras Biden era vicepresidente y que se dejó de ingresar cuando era vicepresidente. ¿A qué se está refiriendo? A una serie de pagos por parte de determinados inversores extranjeros. En particular, se le relaciona con una empresa, a Joe Biden, estamos hablando del presidente de Estados Unidos, se le relaciona con una empresa ucraniana, de energía ucraniana, cuyo presidente, Vadim Posarskayi, se reunió e incluso cenó con el propio Biden, siendo este uno de los candidatos a esa vicepresidencia. Cosa que está prohibida, porque además él mismo niega tener ningún tipo de vínculo con alguna empresa extranjera para poder presentarse aquí. No solo cenan con ellos, sino que evidentemente cena con Hunter Biden, su hijo, y con Devon Archer. Estamos hablando del año 2014. Se unieron tanto Hunter Biden como Devon Archer a la junta de una empresa llamada Burisma, que se dedica a temas energéticos en Ucrania. Ojo, también a eso. Y Joe Biden asistió a esa cena el 16 de abril de 2015 en el Deces Café Milano. Lo hizo con ese presidente ejecutivo de Burisma, Vadim Posarskyi. Insisto, esta no es la única vinculación. Desde el comité se dice que a partir de aquí, tanto Hunter Biden como Devon Archer cobraron al año $1 millón de dólares, perdónenme, $1 millón por gestiones de consultoría. Se incorporaron incluso a la junta de Burisma. Pero es que además dicen que hay una conexión del propio Biden con China a través de su hijo, porque hay ciertas inquietudes, dice que el comité ha planteado respecto a 2 personas, no ha dado los nombres, pero dice que hay preocupaciones en concreto de la conexión del presidente Biden con una de esas personas, porque tendría vínculos estrechos con los niveles más altos del Partido Comunista Chino. Dicen que Biden recibió millones de dólares de este individuo, ojo a la acusación del comité, canalizados a través de empresas ficticias y transferencias bancarias. Que la familia Biden en conjunto, sus asociados y sus empresas recibieron más de $10 millones de ciudadanos extranjeros y de esas empresas, insisto, realizando los pagos a través de terceros países. El presidente del Comité de Supervisión y Responsabilidad de la Cámara de Representantes, el congresista James Comer, es quien está encabezando todo esto y explicaba de esta manera, ojo a estos 17 segundos, la acusación que hay contra el presidente Biden.
Liability companies formed during Joe Biden's vice presidency. The bank records show the Biden family, their associates, and their companies received over $10 million from foreign nationals and their companies.
Y distintos medios, incluido el New York Post, ya saben, a quien tienen vetado ahora en la Casa Blanca por este tipo de informaciones, Biden habría obtenido $1 millón al año, hablamos de Hunter Biden, por formar parte de esa junta directiva, como les digo, de Burisma en Ucrania entre 2014 y 2019, cuando su padre ya estaba a cargo, por cierto, de la política al respecto de Ucrania como vicepresidente de la administración de Obama.
Watching World War III unfolding in real time, President Biden addressing the United States in a televised address to the nation here in about 4 hours from now, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This is only the second time in his presidency where he will address the nation from the Oval Office. Here's what the New York Times says. A senior White House official said Mr. Biden will seek to present the American people a broadly framed explanation for why 2 worlds, half a world away, are critical to the national security of the United States. So, I mean, can we just stop there for a second?
I'll say.
This is the New York Times giving like cover. This is what the president has to say here in the next few hours. He has to try to convince the American people why you want to spend $100 billion in Ukraine and in Israel.
At the same time, or else.
Or else. From the Oval Office. I mean, to me, I think it's a very, symbolically, if you look at the history of the United States presidency, using the Oval Office for addresses to the nation. I mean, going back to, Harry Truman, going back to Dwight D. Eisenhower, sitting there in the Oval Office, President Kennedy, of course, using the Oval Office to give an address is a very heavy moment, a very important moment for the United States. So what you're signaling by using the Oval Office is this is important for you, America. If, as an American, you have to support these wars around the world. Using that as the backdrop is exactly the message they're trying to send.
It's how George Bush sold the Iraq War. I mean, he did that right from the Oval Office.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are under threat, right? Terrorists don't love us. They hate our democracy. They hate our freedoms. And therefore, we need to go and get Saddam Hussein for 9/11, even though he had nothing to do with 9/11, right? You're using this Oval Office in this very powerful message, a very powerful metaphor, and I find it absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. During this, I think of Reagan sitting there in the Oval Office during a moment of national tragedy after the Challenger explosion, speaking to the nation, right? One of the most important speeches in presidential history, trying to bring a nation together after that tragedy, right?
Right.
So that's what you use that for, not this. So during this speech, he's expected to ask Congress for the largest aid package for Israel in history, in U.S. history, $100 billion. $100 billion. Biden drafts a $100 billion foreign aid package, including money for Israel and Ukraine.
Israel has a budgetary surplus, but okay. Sure.
I was just
We
going to say,
don't.
like Natalie said yesterday, they have a surplus and we're sending them money.
Right. No, we're about to hit a debt ceiling. So I guess we could just borrow it, and they presumably can't, even though they have a balanced budget.
I mean, we're $33 trillion in debt. And this debt ceiling, this artificial debt ceiling we keep hitting, it's just we keep extending the playing field.
Right.
You know, it's not 100 yards anymore. It's 7,000 yards. We just keep moving the goalpost. So we've already hit the debt ceiling. We just keep extending. And now we're going to hit our new artificial debt ceiling. But they need $100 billion.
Which we know will expire again in November. So that means that if we don't get this budget in for Ukraine and Israel right now, they might not get it.
Right.
So time is of the essence.
So Sleepy Joe just got back where he nearly fell asleep in a press conference with Benjamin Netanyahu. Of course, he just returned where Biden also gave the green light for Israel to carry out genocide in Gaza for all intents and purposes. That's what's going to happen as civilians are trapped there and have nowhere else to go. Even though they're being told, get out of the northern part, go to the southern part. Okay, so you're really just going to focus on those tunnel structures of Hamas? We've already seen, of course, thousands of civilians being killed. So this is going to get worse before it gets any better. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed that, in fact, the U.S. has pledged support for their invasion of Gaza. And of course, over the past few hours, there's been some back and forth. Is this about to happen? Rishi Sunak is there from the UK. Is this going to be put on hold? Thousands of Israeli soldiers are right there now on the border. But other Israeli sources saying this could take weeks, if not months. And there's no stopping point on this war. It will continue, according to Israel. United Nations supports this, by the way. United Nations throwing their support behind this invasion. Last night, the United Nations vetoed a Brazilian motion for a ceasefire.
Well, it wasn't for a ceasefire. The Brazilian motion was for aid. And in fact, Russia decided not to vote on it because it did not call for a ceasefire.
But it was a pause. Okay, so it was a pause to bring aid.
Right.
Right. But so even that got voted down. But the day before, the Russian motion for a ceasefire failed.
It did. And the United States.
That's a great asset. More inflation. What a stupid son of a bitch.
Just in, President Biden lashing out at a reporter with some rather colorful language just moments ago during a meeting about inflation. Reporters peppered Biden with questions about Ukraine.
But I'm going to do it anyway. So the election did not have to go the way it went. I want to take a second to look back. This is back when they actually did the polls. Obviously, they stopped at a certain point because it was unnecessary to go on any further. But when the question was asked, who would you support, Donald Trump or Bernie Sanders in a general election? Here are the results. Look at those numbers. Public policy polling, plus 11 for Bernie Sanders. Fox News, plus 4. CBS News, New York Times, plus 13. NBC News, Wall Street Journal, plus 15 points for Bernie Sanders. Quinnipiac, plus 9. IBD, TIPP, plus 10